Ethan sat in his grand office, the soft glow of the city lights filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the rich mahogany furniture that adorned the room. The walls were lined with expensive art, each piece carefully curated to reflect his success and power. Yet, despite the opulence that surrounded him, a gnawing emptiness settled in the pit of his stomach. He leaned back in his leather chair, fingers steepled, his mind racing as he watched the scene unfolding in the lavish party below. His gaze fell upon Mia, her laughter ringing out like a melody that cut through the ambient noise of clinking glasses and idle chatter. She was radiant, dressed in a form-fitting red dress that accentuated her curves, her hair cascading in soft waves around her shoulders. She mingled effortlessly among his wealthy friends, her charm drawing them in like moths to a flame. Yet, as Ethan observed her, a wave of doubt washed over him. Did she truly love him, or was she merely enchanted by the lifestyle he provided? The question haunted him, reverberating in his mind. He had worked hard to build his empire, amassing wealth and power that most could only dream of. But in the midst of it all, he had fallen in love with Mia, a woman who seemed to embody everything he desired. Yet, lurking beneath his affection was an unsettling suspicion. Was her love a reflection of his bank account rather than his character? "Ethan, are you coming down?" A voice broke through his thoughts. It was Ryan, his business partner, standing at the door with a drink in hand. "You've been cooped up here for ages. The party's just getting started." Ethan forced a smile, but the unease lingered. "Yeah, just give me a minute." Ryan raised an eyebrow, sensing something was off. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just thinking," Ethan replied, dismissing the concern with a wave of his hand. "I'll be down in a second." As Ryan left, Ethan's eyes drifted back to Mia. She was animated, talking with a group of influential guests, her laughter contagious. Yet, every smile she flashed felt like a dagger, deepening his insecurities. He remembered the night they met, a chance encounter at a charity gala where she had approached him with genuine interest, asking about his passions rather than his portfolio. That moment had sparked something within him, but now, watching her from afar, the magic felt tainted. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the polished floor, and headed toward the elevator. With each passing floor, he mentally prepared himself to confront Mia. He needed to know the truth, to separate her affection from the allure of his wealth. The idea of testing her loyalty had formed in his mind like a dark cloud, and tonight he would take the first step. When he finally arrived at the party, the atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter and the sound of glasses clinking. Mia spotted him almost immediately, her face lighting up as she approached him. "There you are," she exclaimed, her voice bright and welcoming. "I was starting to think you were hiding up there." Ethan forced a smile, trying to mask the turmoil brewing inside. "Just had some things on my mind." Her expression softened with concern. "Everything okay? You know you can talk to me about anything." "Yeah, I know," he replied, his voice steady but lacking warmth. "But I needed to see how you interact with everyone. It's important to me." Mia tilted her head, a flicker of confusion crossing her features. "What do you mean?" He gestured around the room, watching her reaction closely. "You seem to fit in here so well. I wonder if it's me you love or the lifestyle I provide." She blinked, momentarily taken aback. "Ethan, that's ridiculous. I love you for who you are, not what you have." "Do you?" He leaned in, his tone more intense. "What if everything changed? What if I lost it all? Mia stepped back slightly, her brows furrowing. What are you talking about? You're not going to lose anything. You're successful, and you've worked hard for it. But what if I did? Ethan pressed, his heart racing with the weight of his questions. Would you still be here? Would you still love me? A silence hung between them, thick and heavy. Mia's eyes searched his face, trying to decipher the depths of his uncertainty. Ethan, I don't care about your money. I care about you. I've seen you without the suits and the cars, and I fell in love with the man underneath it all. Yet, her words, though sincere, didn't quell the storm within him. He needed clarity, a way to strip away the facade that surrounded their relationship. As Mia continued to express her feelings, Ethan's resolve hardened. He would take drastic measures to uncover the truth. Later that night, after the party had wound down, Ethan sat on the edge of his king-sized bed in his lavish mansion. The room was a sanctuary of luxury, yet it felt suffocating. He paced, the idea of faking his financial ruin taking root in his mind like a seed that needed to be watered. He could sell off his luxury cars, downsize his home, and step into a life of simplicity. It would be a test, a way to reveal Mia's true feelings. As he moved around the room, gathering his thoughts, he could see the future clearly. He envisioned himself in a modest apartment, stripped of the opulence that had defined him for so long. Would Mia still be there when the dust settled? Would she stand by him when he was no longer the wealthy businessman she had grown accustomed to? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. He knew the risks involved, but the desire for truth outweighed his fears. He needed to know if their love was built on a solid foundation or merely a house of cards, teetering on the brink of collapse. Hours later, Ethan sat at his desk, a list of luxury items he owned sprawled before him. It felt surreal to write down the names of his cars, the designer suits, and the extravagant pieces of art that adorned his walls. Each stroke of the pen felt like a weight lifting, yet the gravity of his decision loomed over him like a thundercloud. Tomorrow, he whispered to himself, determination setting in. Tomorrow, I start fresh. He glanced at the framed photograph on his desk. Mia, her smile radiant, her eyes sparkling with joy. In that moment, Ethan felt the weight of his plans settle in his chest. It was a gamble, one that could end in heartbreak or revelation. But for the sake of love, he was willing to risk it all. Tomorrow would be the beginning of a new chapter, one that would reveal the truth he desperately sought. Ethan stood at the threshold of his modest apartment, the smell of cheap takeout lingering in the air, a stark contrast to the aromatic gourmet meals that once filled his grand mansion. It was a far cry from the life he had meticulously constructed, a life that had begun to feel suffocating with every passing moment. Today, however, he was determined to play the role of the nonchalant man who had willingly chosen this new path. The doorbell rang, breaking the silence, and Ethan's heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and dread. "Mia," he called out, forcing a casual tone into his voice as he opened the door. She stood there, her expression a mix of concern and disbelief as she took in the simplicity of his new surroundings. The walls were bare, the furniture sparse, and the light from the window cast a dull glow over everything. "Ethan, this place," she began, stepping inside and glancing around. "Are you sure you're okay? I mean, this is such a drastic change. What happened to the mansion? Your cars?" "It's just a break, Mia," he replied, shrugging his shoulders as if to dismiss the gravity of the situation. "I needed some time away from all that noise. You know how it is." Mia's brow furrowed, skepticism evident in her eyes. "But this doesn't seem like you at all. Are you really okay?" I just saw you at that gala last week looking like $1,000,000. Ethan forced a smile, trying to project an air of indifference. People change. Sometimes we need to strip away the layers to find out what really matters, right? Right, she said slowly, unconvinced. She stepped further into the apartment, her eyes scanning the sparse kitchen. Can I help you with anything? It looks a bit empty in here. No, I'm good. Just been focusing on other things, he replied, trying to sound dismissive. But inside he felt a sharp pang of guilt as she offered to help. He didn't want her pity or concern. He wanted to see if her love could withstand the truth he was trying to hide. Mia's gaze softened, and she took a step closer to him. Ethan, I know you're going through something. If this is about us, we can talk about it. You don't have to pretend with me. He swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her sincerity pressing down on him. It's nothing like that, really. Just trying to figure some things out. You know? Life can get overwhelming. Okay, but you're not alone in this, she insisted, her voice gentle yet firm. I'm here for you, no matter what. The warmth of her words sent a shiver down his spine, and he felt a flicker of doubt about the deception he had orchestrated. Was he really willing to sacrifice the connection they shared for the sake of a misguided experiment? His resolve began to waver as he watched her move around the kitchen, her hands deftly preparing a simple meal. Do you want me to cook something for you? She asked, her back turned to him as she rummaged through the cabinets. Honestly, I'm not really hungry, he replied, but his stomach betrayed him with a low growl. She turned to face him, an amused smile lighting up her face. Really? Because I think your stomach disagrees with you, she teased, a twinkle in her eye. I'm making pasta. It's not fancy, but I promise it'll be better than that takeout you have sitting there. All right, he relented, feeling a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth despite himself. Pasta it is. As she moved around the kitchen, he couldn't help but admire her. She seemed to radiate warmth, a stark contrast to the cold, corporate world he had come from. Watching her chop vegetables and hum softly to herself, Ethan felt a twinge of regret for the plan he had set into motion. What about you? What are your plans? He asked, attempting to steer the conversation away from his life. You've been working so hard lately. Is there anything you're looking forward to? Mia paused, leaning against the counter as she wiped her hands on a dish towel. Actually, I've been thinking about going back to school. There's this program I found that focuses on sustainable design. I've always wanted to get into environmental work, but it's tough to find the right opportunity. Ethan's heart warmed at her passion. That sounds incredible. You'd be amazing at that. Thanks, she replied, her eyes lighting up. But it's a big decision, you know. I'd have to quit my job and take on student loans. It's scary, but I think it could be worth it. Her vulnerability struck a chord within him. Here she was, risking her stability for a dream, while he was hiding behind a facade of financial ruin to test her love. Guilt mingled with admiration, creating a tempest of conflicting emotions. Have you talked to anyone about it? He asked, genuinely interested. Not really. I guess I'm just afraid of what they'll say, she confessed, her voice dropping slightly. Everyone expects me to keep climbing the corporate ladder, not take a step back. You should follow your heart, Ethan encouraged, his tone earnest. If it's something you want, you owe it to yourself to pursue it. Mia met his gaze, her expression softening. Thanks for saying that. It means a lot coming from you. As they shared a moment of silence, Ethan felt the walls he had built around his heart begin to crumble slightly. The weight of his deception pressed heavily upon him, and he could see the sincerity in Mia's eyes. She was not merely an actress in a play he had set. She was a woman with dreams, desires, and an unwavering loyalty that was beginning to challenge everything he thought he knew about their relationship. "Dinner's ready," Mia announced, breaking the tension. She plated the pasta and set it on the small table, her smile brightening the dim room. "I hope you like it." Ethan took a seat, the aroma inviting him to let go of his worries, if only for a moment. As they began to eat, he watched her intently. She spoke animatedly about her day, her gestures animated, and for a fleeting moment, he allowed himself to forget the charade. "Ethan, are you even listening?" she asked, a teasing smile on her lips. "Sorry, I was just thinking about how lucky I am," he replied, his voice catching in his throat as he realized the truth of his statement. "Lucky? To be eating my mediocre pasta," she laughed, but her eyes sparkled with joy. "No, lucky to have you in my life," he admitted, feeling the sincerity of the words wash over him. Mia's laughter faded, replaced by a contemplative look. "You really mean that?" "I do," he said, his heart racing. "I've been going through a lot, and I'm just trying to figure things out. But having you here makes it easier." Her gaze softened, and for a moment, they were two souls connecting amid the chaos of life's challenges. Yet, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom from his deception. The more he learned about her, the more he felt the weight of his actions. As they finished dinner, Mia leaned back in her chair, a content smile on her face. "You know, we should do this more often. Just us. It's nice to slow down and enjoy the simple things." Ethan nodded, the warmth of her words wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. He longed to tell her everything, to lay bare his fears and insecurities, but the words remained lodged in his throat. Instead, he forced a smile, masking the turmoil within, all while wondering just how deep her love truly ran. In that moment, he realized that his plan was slowly unraveling, and the truths he had hoped to uncover were becoming increasingly complex. As he looked into Mia's eyes, he felt a profound sense of admiration and fear intertwining, knowing that whatever he discovered about her, he was also destined to learn about himself. Ethan leaned against the cool metal railing of the balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. Each fading ray reminded him of the life he had left behind, the opulent parties, the laughter of friends laced with the clinking of crystal glasses, and, most poignantly, the warmth of Mia's smile that seemed to light up the room. But now, as he stood in his modest apartment, the world felt heavy, and the weight of his deception pressed down on him like a leaden shroud. Inside, he could hear Mia bustling in the kitchen, the aroma of sautéed vegetables wafting through the air. She had taken it upon herself to cook dinner that evening, a gesture that stirred a mixture of gratitude and guilt in Ethan. He had expected her to be distant or even resentful after his abrupt lifestyle change, but instead, she seemed more determined than ever to stand by his side. He couldn't help but wonder if this was truly love or an act of compassion for a man she believed was struggling. "Ethan, dinner's ready," Mia called out, her voice bright and inviting. He took a deep breath, steeling himself to face her, to see the reflection of his choices in her eyes. He stepped inside, where the soft glow of the overhead lights contrasted sharply with the darkness of his thoughts. As he entered the small dining area, Mia set the table, her movements graceful and efficient. She looked up and smiled, a genuine smile that could melt away any doubt. "I hope you're hungry. I made your favorite, pasta primavera." Ethan forced a smile, trying to mask the turmoil within. It looks amazing, Mia. Thank you. He took a seat, watching as she poured a generous serving of pasta onto his plate, the vibrant colors of the vegetables standing out against the creamy sauce. They sat in silence for a moment, the only sounds being the gentle clinking of forks against plates. Ethan's mind raced as he observed her, his heart hammering in his chest. She had always been so full of life, but now, in this humble setting, he saw her in a different light. The way she focused on him, the way her eyes sparkled with joy even in the simplest of moments, it shook him to his core. Mia, he began, his voice tentative. Why are you doing this? You could be with someone who can give you everything, someone who can take you back to that life. She paused, her fork hovering in midair, and looked at him, her expression serious. Ethan, I don't care about that life. I care about you. I want to be with you, no matter where we are. This, she gestured around the apartment, doesn't change how I feel. It's you that I love, not the money or the luxury. Her words hit him like a punch to the gut. He searched her face for any sign of insincerity, but all he saw was earnestness. It made his heart ache with a mixture of love and despair. He had set out to test her, but now he was the one being tested. How could he reconcile his plan with the reality of her unwavering support? The conversation shifted to lighter topics, but Ethan remained preoccupied, his mind swirling with questions. After dinner, they moved to the small, worn-out couch, and Mia nestled beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. He could feel the warmth radiating from her body, a comfort he hadn't realized he needed. Mia, can I ask you something? He said hesitantly, not wanting to disrupt the peaceful moment. Of course, anything, she replied, looking up at him with those captivating eyes that seemed to hold the universe. Do you ever think about what life would be like if things were different? If I hadn't lost everything? She took a moment, considering his words before answering. Sometimes, yes. But life isn't just about the circumstances we find ourselves in. It's about how we face them. I've had my share of struggles, Ethan. I grew up in a neighborhood where hope was a rarity. But those experiences shaped me into who I am today. They taught me resilience. Resilience, Ethan echoed, the word resonating within him. He remembered the stories she had shared about her childhood, the challenges she had overcome. For the first time, he felt a flicker of something he hadn't expected: admiration. Mia continued, her voice soft yet firm. I believe that love isn't dependent on our possessions. It's about the connection we share, how we uplift each other. You've been there for me in ways I can't even explain. I just want to return the favor. He swallowed hard, emotions threatening to overwhelm him. You're incredible. You know that? I don't deserve you. Don't say that, she replied, lifting her chin defiantly. You do deserve love, Ethan. Just because you're not living in a mansion doesn't make you any less worthy. As they sat there, enveloped in a silence that felt charged with unspoken words, Ethan's heart battled against the walls he had built around it. He thought about his plan, the lengths he had gone to in order to uncover the truth about her feelings. But here, in this moment, he saw her for who she truly was, a woman of strength and integrity, unshaken by his fall from grace. Suddenly, the tranquility of their evening was broken by the sharp trill of Ethan's phone. He glanced at the screen, his stomach dropping as he saw his business partner's name flashing. The last thing he wanted was to be reminded of the world he was trying to escape. Reluctantly, he answered, Ethan, you need to come back. We're in crisis mode. The investors are getting restless, and we can't afford to lose this deal. His partner's voice crackled through the line, urgency lacing every word. Ethan felt a wave of conflict wash over him. He had fought so hard to distance himself from that life. But now, It seemed to be reaching out to pull him back. I'm not sure I can," he stammered, glancing at Mia, who was watching him intently, her expression a mixture of concern and encouragement. "Are you kidding? You're the only one who can fix this. You need to be here," his partner pressed, frustration evident in his tone. "Let me think about it," Ethan replied, his voice steadier than he felt. He hung up, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on his chest. "What was that about?" Mia asked, her brow furrowed with concern. "It's work. They want me back," he admitted, his heart racing. "Ethan, you've been running away from that life for a reason. Don't let them pull you back in," she urged, her voice steady and reassuring. "I know, but what if I could fix everything? What if I could get everything back on track?" he countered, torn between the life he once led and the love that was blossoming before him. Mia took his hand, her grip firm. "You have to decide what's truly important to you. Is it the power and the money, or is it the connection we're building here?" The question hung heavy in the air, demanding an answer he wasn't ready to give. Ethan felt as though he were standing on the precipice of a cliff, looking back at the life he had forged and forward into the unknown. The love he felt for Mia was undeniable, but the allure of his old life whispered sweet nothings in his ear, promising power and prestige. As the night deepened around them, Ethan knew he had a choice to make, one that would define who he was and what he truly valued. And as he looked into Mia's eyes, filled with unwavering support and love, he felt an inkling of hope that perhaps the answer was clearer than he had ever imagined. Ethan sat on the edge of his modest bed, staring blankly at the worn walls of his new apartment. The room, stripped of the opulence he had grown accustomed to, felt foreign and constricting. The smell of paint and old wood lingered in the air, reminding him of the choices he had made, choices that now loomed heavy in his mind. He had been relentless in his pursuit of the truth when it came to Mia's feelings, but as he reflected on the last few weeks, doubt began to creep in alongside his resolve. The sound of the front door creaking open pulled him from his thoughts. Ethan glanced toward the entrance, just as Mia stepped into the apartment, her face lighting up at the sight of him. She had brought a grocery bag filled with fresh produce, her smile radiating warmth that contrasted sharply with the starkness of his surroundings. "Ethan," she exclaimed, setting the bag down on the small table. "I thought I'd surprise you with dinner tonight. I found some amazing recipes for pasta. Do you like pasta?" "Yeah, pasta's great," he replied, forcing a smile. He could see the genuine excitement in her eyes, and it tugged at his heart. As she began to unpack the ingredients, his heart sank. Each item she pulled out was a reminder of the life he had left behind. "You didn't have to do this, Mia. I can manage," he said, trying to keep his tone light. "Of course, I had to," she shot back, glancing over her shoulder with a playful glare. "You're my boyfriend, and I want to help. Besides, it's fun doing this together." Ethan's chest tightened. She was right. It was fun. The laughter they shared while cooking, the way her eyes sparkled when she told him about her day, those moments felt genuine. Yet, the shadow of his deception loomed over him, threatening to suffocate everything good between them. As Mia moved around the small kitchen, humming softly, he couldn't help but admire her. She had a way of transforming even the simplest tasks into something vibrant. But as he watched her chop vegetables, the guilt surged again, crashing over him like a wave. "Mia, can we talk?" Ethan finally asked, his voice unsteady. She turned, her knife pausing mid-cut, concern etched on her face. "Of course. What's on your mind?" I need to tell you something important." Ethan took a deep breath, steeling himself against the truth that had been eating away at him. "It's about my situation, my financial situation." Mia's expression shifted from concern to confusion. What do you mean? You said you were just taking a break from the corporate world. I lied. He blurted out, his heart racing. I'm not just taking a break. I'm faking it all. I wanted to see if you truly loved me for who I am, not for what I have. The silence that followed was deafening. Mia blinked, her mind racing as she processed his words. You what? She finally managed, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't want to believe that you might love me only for my money. So I stripped everything away, moved here, and pretended to be broke to see how you would react. Mia's eyes widened, her expression morphing from shock to hurt. Ethan, how could you think that? I thought you trusted me. I do trust you, he insisted, his voice rising. I was scared. I've seen so many people come into my life because of my wealth. It's hard for me to differentiate between real love and interest in my money. Mia took a step back, her hands trembling slightly. So you've been lying to me this whole time? Everything we've shared, every moment, was a part of your test. It wasn't meant to hurt you, he pleaded, desperation lacing his tone. I just needed to know. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Ethan, I can't believe you would do this. I've been here for you, supporting you, and you thought I was just after your bank account. No, that's not it, he exclaimed, frustration boiling over. I thought you loved me. I thought you could see beyond the wealth. I just needed to be sure. Mia shook her head, taking another step back, the distance between them growing. You've completely broken my trust. I thought you were someone who believed in honesty and openness. This is manipulation. Ethan felt like the ground had been pulled from beneath him. Mia, please listen to me. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I wanted to see the real you. The real me, she echoed incredulously, crossing her arms defensively. You think you can just play games with people's feelings and call it a test? You've made a mockery of our relationship. Please, just give me a chance to explain, he said, his voice breaking. I care about you more than anything. I thought that if I stripped everything away, I'd find out who you really are, who we really are together. What I see right now is a man who doesn't trust me. Her voice was cold, and for a moment, Ethan feared he had lost her completely. But then, a flicker of understanding crossed her face, and her expression softened slightly. You're scared, Ethan. I get that. But you've hurt me in a way I never expected. Love isn't a test. It's about trust, vulnerability, and being real with each other. Ethan felt a wave of guilt wash over him. I didn't know how else to handle my fears. I thought this would help me find clarity. Mia sighed deeply, her shoulders slumping. Clarity? All you've done is create a mess. I wish you had just talked to me. I would have understood. I know, he admitted, running a hand through his hair in frustration. I just thought I could handle it on my own. I didn't want to bring you into my insecurities. She stepped closer, her expression serious. Ethan, if you want to know the truth, then here it is. I love you for who you are, not for what you have. I've never cared about your money. I care about you. But you need to show me that you can trust me, too. Her words sank in, and for the first time, Ethan felt a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos he had created. I want to trust you. I do. I need time to figure out how to fix this. Mia nodded slowly, her gaze steady. You have to be willing to be honest with me moving forward. No more games, Ethan. If we're going to make this work, it has to be based on honesty. I promise, he said, his voice earnest. No more tests. Just me, trying to be better for you. Mia's lips quirked into a small smile, one that didn't quite reach her eyes. That's a start. But remember, trust takes time to rebuild. Just as Ethan began to feel a sense of relief, a knock echoed through the small apartment. The sound startled both of them, and Mia exchanged a wary glance with him. Who could that be? She asked, her brow furrowing. I don't know, Ethan replied, his heart racing again. He stood, instinctively moving toward the door, a sense of dread filling him. When he opened the door, his stomach dropped. Standing before him was a figure from his past, someone he had hoped never to see again. The man's expression was one of smug satisfaction, a look Ethan recognized all too well. Ethan, The man said, his voice dripping with disdain. "I hear you've fallen from grace. Mind if I come in? We need to talk." Ethan felt the air leave his lungs, the reality of the situation crashing down around him. The confrontation with his past had begun, and with it, the precarious balance he had fought so hard to establish with Mia was at risk of shattering once again. Ethan sat on the worn-out couch of his modest apartment, his heart pounding as he stared at the door. The confrontation with his old rival was inevitable. The man he had wronged in the past had resurfaced, and Ethan knew that the encounter would not end well if left unaddressed. The memories of that betrayal haunted him, the bitter taste of resentment still fresh in his mind. He had been young, ambitious, and foolish, thinking he could outmaneuver everyone in his path. Now, that very past was threatening to unravel everything he had built, including the fragile trust he had begun to cultivate with Mia. He glanced at his phone, the screen lighting up with a message from Mia. "Hey, just checking in. How are you holding up?" she had written. Her unwavering support had been a beacon of light in his otherwise tumultuous life. Ethan sighed, feeling a mix of love and guilt wash over him. How could he let her down? How could he continue this charade when he knew that his past could come crashing down at any moment? Mia walked in just then, her presence like a warm embrace. "Ethan, I brought some coffee," she said, holding up 2 steaming mugs. Her eyes sparkled with concern, but Ethan could see the determination behind them. She had faced his sudden lifestyle change with grace and resilience, and now she stood before him, ready to face whatever storm was brewing. "Thanks, Mia," he replied, taking a mug from her hand. He watched as she settled beside him, her body language open and inviting. It was hard for him to reconcile the love he felt for her with the fear that his deception would shatter everything. "I think we need to talk about everything," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia nodded, her expression shifting to one of serious contemplation. "I know things have been different lately, but I want you to know that I'm here for you, Ethan. Whatever you're going through, we can face it together." He took a deep breath, the weight of his secret pressing heavily on his chest. "It's not that simple, Mia. There's something I've been avoiding. I need to confront someone from my past, someone who could ruin everything for us." Mia's brow furrowed in concern. "Who is it? What do they want?" Ethan hesitated, the words catching in his throat. "It's Daniel. He's been looking for me. He wants revenge for what happened years ago." "Daniel? Your old business rival?" Mia's voice rose slightly, disbelief etched on her features. "What does he want from you now?" "He knows about my recent changes. He thinks it's an opportunity to expose me, to use my past against me. If he finds out about my financial situation, everything I've built with you could come crumbling down." Ethan felt a knot tighten in his stomach, the anxiety of the situation swirling within him. Mia reached out, placing her hand on his arm. "We can't let him intimidate us. We need a plan. If he's trying to play mind games, we can outsmart him together." Ethan looked into her eyes and saw the fierce loyalty that had drawn him to her in the first place. "You really mean that?" "Of course I do," she replied firmly. "You're not alone in this. I care about you, Ethan. We can face him together, and we will." The resolve in her voice ignited a spark of hope in Ethan's heart. Maybe he wasn't as powerless as he felt. They began to outline a strategy, discussing what they knew about Daniel and how to turn the tables on him. The more they planned, the more Ethan could feel the bond between them growing stronger. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue through the apartment window, Mia leaned in closer. "I believe in you, Ethan. You've already shown me so much about who you are beneath the surface. Let's show Daniel that he can't control you anymore." Ethan took a moment to absorb her words. "You really believe I can stand up to him?" "Yes," she affirmed, her voice steady. "You've already taken the hardest step by being honest with yourself and with me. This is just one more step toward reclaiming your life." He nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "All right, let's do this. Together." The following day, Ethan and Mia met at a local cafe, a place that was both familiar and comforting. The air was thick with the aroma of coffee and fresh pastries, and the chatter of patrons created a lively backdrop for their planning session. Ethan could see the tension in Mia's demeanor as they sat across from each other at a small table. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "We could always just walk away. Avoid him completely." Ethan shook his head. "No, that's not an option. I can't run from my past forever. I need to confront Daniel and take back control. Besides, I don't want to live in fear. Not anymore." Mia smiled, a mixture of pride and worry in her eyes. "Then let's make sure we're prepared. What's our first move?" Ethan took a deep breath, laying out their plan. "We need to gather information about Daniel's current situation. He's always been a man driven by power and money. If we can find a weakness, we can use it to our advantage." As they strategized, Ethan felt a sense of clarity that had eluded him for so long. Mia's unwavering support transformed his doubts into a fierce resolve. He realized that whatever the outcome, they would face it together. He could see the future unfolding before him, one where love and courage triumphed over fear and deception. But his newfound hope was soon tested. Later that week, as they prepared to confront Daniel, Ethan received a message that sent chills down his spine. A simple text, but it was a reminder of the stakes involved. "I know what you've been hiding, Ethan. Meet me at the old warehouse. Alone, or I expose everything." Ethan's hands trembled as he showed the message to Mia. "He wants me to meet him. He's threatening to reveal my secrets." Mia's expression hardened, determination flashing in her eyes. "You can't go alone. We'll figure this out together. I won't let you face him by yourself." "I can't risk your safety," Ethan replied, his voice strained. "If he finds out you're involved, it could put you in danger." Mia shook her head defiantly. "You underestimate me, Ethan. I'm not afraid of him. We're a team, and I'm not backing down now." Ethan felt the conflict within him surge again. He wanted to protect her, but at what cost? "You don't know what he's capable of." "Neither do you," she countered, her voice steady. "But I do know that love means standing together in the face of adversity. We can't let him intimidate us." As the tension mounted, Ethan realized that Mia's presence was a source of strength. They were in this together, and it was time to take a stand. They would face Daniel, armed not just with their plan, but with the unbreakable bond they had forged through their trials. The night of the confrontation arrived, shrouded in an ominous stillness. The old warehouse loomed ahead, a dilapidated structure that echoed with memories of betrayal and ambition. Ethan's heart raced as he parked the car, glancing at Mia, who sat beside him, her face a mix of anxiety and determination. "Ready?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let's do this," Ethan replied, summoning every ounce of courage within him. As they approached the entrance, the air grew heavy with anticipation. This was the moment where their lives would change forever. They stepped inside, the dim light casting long shadows across the concrete floor. There, waiting in the center of the room, stood Daniel, his posture radiating confidence and malice. "Ethan," Daniel sneered, his eyes glinting with amusement as he took in Mia's presence. "You brought company. How quaint." Ethan squared his shoulders, his heart pounding in his chest. "This ends now, Daniel. You can't intimidate me anymore." Daniel chuckled, the sound hollow and menacing. "Oh, but I can. You see, I hold all the cards here. One call to the right person, and your little secret, your fall from grace, becomes public knowledge. How do you think Mia will feel about that?" Ethan's breath hitched, but he felt Mia's reassuring grip on his arm. "No matter what you think you know, you can't break us," she declared, her voice steady. Daniel's expression darkened as he realized they wouldn't cower in fear. "You're both fools if you think you can outsmart me. But let's see how long this brave facade lasts when I reveal your true self to the world." Ethan's mind raced, searching for a way to turn the tide. "You think you can control me with threats? I've faced my past, Daniel. You don't scare me anymore. And if you expose me, you'll be exposing yourself too." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Daniel's face, but it quickly morphed back into arrogance. "You think you can play this game? You're still nothing without your wealth and power. I'll make sure everyone knows who you are." Ethan stepped closer, emboldened by Mia's unwavering support. "You can try, but I won't let you destroy everything I've worked for." Ethan stood in the center of the dimly lit room, his heart pounding as he prepared to confront his rival. The walls, once adorned with opulence, now felt oppressive, as if they were closing in on him. The evening had turned into a battleground of emotions. He was no longer just a businessman. He was a man stripped bare of his pretense, ready to face the consequences of his actions. His phone buzzed against the wooden table, breaking the silence. It was Mia, her message a calm reassurance amidst the chaos swirling in his mind. "I believe in you, Ethan. Show him the man you truly are." The words ignited a fire within him. He knew he had to confront his past, not just for himself, but for Mia as well. As he stepped outside, the cool night air hit his face, grounding him. The confrontation was set for a small, upscale bar downtown, where shadows danced across the faces of city dwellers, unaware of the storm brewing in Ethan's heart. It was here that he would meet Carter, the rival who had been a thorn in his side for years, a man who thrived on manipulation and deceit. Ethan arrived early, taking a moment to compose himself. He ordered a whiskey, the amber liquid swirling in the glass mirroring the turmoil within him. The bar was buzzing with conversations and laughter, a stark contrast to the heavy weight of his thoughts. He could hear snippets of chatter about business deals and stock market surges, reminders of the world he had stepped away from. Minutes passed, and then he spotted Carter entering, his presence commanding the room. Dressed in a tailored suit that screamed power, Carter scanned the bar, a predatory gleam in his eye as he locked onto Ethan. There was no mistaking the tension as the two men approached each other, the air thick with unspoken animosity. "Ethan," Carter greeted, his voice dripping with condescension. "I see you've fallen from grace. How's the humble life treating you?" Ethan clenched his jaw, resisting the urge to react. "I'm not here to play games, Carter. I'm here to talk." "Talk?" Carter chuckled, his arrogance palpable. "You've got nothing left to talk about. You're a shadow of your former self." "Maybe so," Ethan replied, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. "But I've learned something valuable in this process. I've learned what really matters in life." Carter raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And what's that? Money? Power?" "No," Ethan said, his resolve strengthening. "It's love. Genuine love." He thought of Mia, her unwavering support and belief in him, and the way she had seen through the facade he had built around himself. Carter's smile faltered for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. "Love doesn't pay the bills, Ethan. You'll learn that soon enough." Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his past mistakes lifting slightly. Love is worth more than any amount of money. It's about being true to yourself and the people who matter. You wouldn't understand that, would you? "Enough of this sentimental nonsense," Carter snapped, his demeanor shifting to anger. "You think you can just walk away from your past and live in some fairy tale? I'll expose you for the fraud you are if you don't pay me what you owe." Ethan felt a surge of defiance. "Go ahead. Expose me. But know this. I'm not afraid of losing material wealth anymore. I've found something far more valuable. He stood tall, facing Carter with a newfound confidence. At that moment, Mia entered the bar, her presence illuminating the dark corners of Ethan's world. She made her way through the crowd, her eyes searching for him. When she found him, a smile broke across her face, and Ethan's heart swelled. She was the embodiment of everything he had been fighting for, the love that transcended wealth, status, and reputation. "Mia," he called out, his voice breaking through the tension between him and Carter. She approached, her gaze shifting between the two men. "What's going on?" she asked, concern etched on her face. Ethan turned to Carter, ready to expose the truth. Carter was just leaving. Leaving? Not without a proper goodbye. Carter sneered, his eyes narrowing. "Tell your boyfriend to watch his back, Mia. He's playing a dangerous game." Mia stood firm, her voice steady. "I'm not afraid of danger if it means standing by the man I love." She turned to Ethan, her eyes filled with understanding. "You show me who you truly are, Ethan. I don't care about your wealth or what others think. I care about you." Carter laughed, but it was a hollow sound. "Love doesn't pay the bills, sweetheart. You'll see. Love pays for itself in ways you can't even begin to comprehend." Ethan replied, anger rising within him. "I'll never let you manipulate me again, Carter. I'm done running from my past." With that declaration, Ethan felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He wasn't just confronting Carter. He was confronting his own fears, his insecurities, and the doubts that had plagued him for so long. The power dynamic had shifted. He was no longer the man who depended on money for validation. Carter's expression darkened, and with a final glare, he turned and walked away, leaving Ethan and Mia standing together, united against the shadows of the past. Ethan turned to Mia, who looked up at him with unwavering devotion. "You knew all along, didn't you?" he asked softly. "I suspected," she admitted, her voice gentle. "But I chose to love you for who you are, not what you have. I saw the man behind the wealth, Ethan, and that man is worth everything to me." A rush of emotion flooded through Ethan, and he pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. "I'm sorry for the deception. I was afraid," he confessed, his voice muffled against her hair. "Fear is a part of love," she said, pulling back to look into his eyes. "But it doesn't define us. We've faced this together, and it only makes us stronger." They stood there, the noise of the bar fading into the background as they locked eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between them. In that moment, Ethan knew they had transcended the superficial barriers that had once defined their relationship. As they left the bar, hand in hand, the city lights twinkled around them, illuminating their path. Ethan felt a sense of clarity he had never experienced before. He was ready to embrace a future filled with authenticity, love, and an unwavering connection with Mia. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together," he said, squeezing her hand. "Together," she echoed, a smile lighting up her face. And as they walked into the night, Ethan realized that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in the love they shared, a love that had conquered doubt and emerged stronger than ever.